populations, this time focusing on groups for adults and older adults as part of our group skills and substance abuse counseling course. At this point, you should know to review the chapters for this week before viewing the lecture, as it is intended to supplement your reading. By the end of the week, you should be able to identify and describe the key principles in working with groups for adults and older adults. As we talk about adults this week, we are covering a wide range here, from 20 to 65 years old. Young adults can be considered those between 20 and 40, and those individuals between 40 and 65 are classified as midlife. Within this population, we have a huge variety of experiences and many different levels of physical, mental, social, and emotional maturity. Once again, a knowledge of human development is helpful as we consider that young adults tend to be dealing with issues related to identity and intimacy, while adults in midlife tend to be dealing with issues related to generativity, a time when individuals consider the contributions they make to the world. It's worth noting that men and women have shown to approach generativity differently, as do adults with special needs and developmental concerns. Keeping in mind all of these things, there are a wide variety of groups that exist for adult members. In fact, adults have the largest pool of groups from which to choose. Adults may participate in work and task groups as part of their job, volunteer, or community activities. As you view the lecture, you may be able to think about the groups in which you are a member, and chances are, if we were to take a poll, the responses would vary from task groups to psychotherapy groups and everything in between. Setting up groups for adults demands attention to the themes and needs of the members of the group. We'll look at a few different examples of groups for adults on the next slide, and we'll soon see that the variety is too great for us to draw any simple conclusions on an appropriate size or other specifications for groups for this population. The size depends on the type of group, the purpose, the setting, etc. Instead, as I mentioned, themes and needs are a helpful way to frame the discussion. We can understand themes to describe the particular interest or concern that a group focuses on, whether it be a group centered on career counseling or alcohol use. In order to be effective for members, the topics in theme-based groups must reflect the real-world situations and stay connected to teaching life skills or lessons related to that subject area. Member needs are the second important consideration when conceptualizing groups for adults. We must consider what are the potential barriers or challenges that members face. Regardless of themes and needs, however, all groups that serve adults must be clear regarding their purpose, membership criteria, rules, and expectations, as well as being sensitive to legal, ethical, and multicultural issues. When working with adults, the role of the leader also varies according to group type, membership, and format. Some leaders, for instance, those providing leadership for psychoeducational groups, whose purpose is to impart information or facilitate skill building, must plan carefully what they're going to do and structure their groups accordingly. In a counseling or psychotherapy group, however, leaders tend to be guided by their theoretical orientation, and leaders might approach the same group scenario in different ways based on the counseling theory that they endorse. Certain agencies may adopt a specific approach to working with clients, for instance, cognitive behavioral theory, and the theory and research for this approach are what guides the leader in developing and implementing the group. We've already explored the skills that leaders use in their work, and before beginning a group for adults, leaders will want to review these skills and make sure that they have mastered them. On page 278 of your text, the author begins an exploration of studies on the outcomes of groups for adults. The pages that follow provide some helpful information regarding the research that has been done on the effectiveness of some specific groups with attention to college students and adults in midlife. Let's take a moment to talk about group work with college students. Working with college students in the group context has been shown to be quite effective. Many college students struggle with similar issues related to fear of failure, mild depression, anxiety, self-esteem, body image, and interpersonal relationships. Research indicates that the most effective groups for college students are closed-format groups that run 10 to 12 sessions. Psychoeducational groups for college students can address issues like self-esteem, public speaking, depression management, stress management, disordered eating, and academic support. Additionally, psychoeducational groups can be helpful for college students who are outside the traditional age range and can offer information and resources for their academic, social, and emotional needs. Additional examples of groups found on the college campus may include those for students who are survivors of sexual assault, students experiencing homesickness, suffering grief or loss, or are exploring issues of sexual orientation. With respect to adults in midlife, your text explores a variety of groups, including those for adult children of alcoholics, victims of abuse, and survivors of suicide, groups specifically for men and for women, groups for couples, families, and people who are divorced, widowed, and remarried. You can refer to your text for more information, but regardless of differences in the specifics, all of these groups require attention to the issue of membership, structure, goals, and evaluation that we've been exploring in the past weeks. The strengths and limitations for working with adults should be familiar to you from previous readings and lectures. Some of the strengths include the cost effectiveness of having one or two group leaders working with people during a single time frame, and other strengths are related to the opportunity for members to change unwanted behaviors and learn new information and skills in a supportive environment. One limitation in group work
I want to see if I can get that back up. It wasn't showing for a second for you guys. There we go. Okay.
On page 278 of your text, the author begins an exploration of studies on the outcomes of groups for adults. The pages that follow provide some helpful information regarding the research that has been done on the effectiveness of some specific groups with attention to college students and adults in midlife. Let's take a moment to talk about group work with college students. Working with college students in a group context has been shown to be quite effective. Many college students struggle with similar issues related to fear of failure, mild depression, anxiety, self-esteem, body image, and interpersonal relationships. Research indicates that the most effective groups for college students are closed format groups that run 10 to 12 sessions. Psychoeducational groups for college students can address issues like self-esteem, public speaking, depression management, stress management, disordered eating, and academic support. Additionally, psychoeducational groups can be helpful for college students who are outside the traditional age range and can offer information and resources for their academic, social, and emotional needs. Additional examples of groups found on the college campus may include those for students who are survivors of sexual assault, students experiencing homesickness, suffering grief or loss, or are exploring issues of sexual orientation. With respect to adults in midlife, your text explores a variety of groups, including those for adult children of alcoholics, victims of abuse, and survivors of suicide, groups specifically for men and for women, groups for couples, families, and people who are divorced, widowed, and remarried. You can refer to your text for more information, but regardless of differences in the specifics, all of these groups require attention to the issue of membership, structure, goals, and evaluation that we've been exploring in the past weeks. The strengths and limitations for working with adults should be familiar to you from previous readings and lectures. Some of the strengths include the cost effectiveness of having one or two group leaders working with people during a single time frame, and other strengths are related to the opportunity for members to change unwanted behaviors and learn new information and skills in a supportive environment. One limitation in group work with adults is scheduling. For children and for adolescents, the school setting is conducive to coordinating member availability and for providing a convenient location for members to meet. For adults, however, it can be challenging to find a time and a place that works for all the members. For adults may be more hesitant to participate in groups, may have preconceptions or reservations related to group treatment, and finally, adults are more likely to have created behavioral patterns that can be difficult to change, and it may take longer for them to learn new ways of behaving to replace those old patterns.
How you doing?
As we move now to look at our final population, older adults, we actually enter our largest span, ranging from mid-60s all the way to 120 years of age. Older adults have not always received the attention that they deserve, and it's worth noting that this is a population that's growing. Mental health services are also growing to meet the needs of the population, But myths and stereotypes still threaten the services that older adults receive. Ageism, which is discrimination against older people, can lead to an attitude bias against working with older adults, despite the fact that older adults are often.
I found them. It is examples of group therapy. Have you ever been in a group therapy before?
Oh, group?
Yeah.
No.
A lot of people haven't, so that's why I show these. These are 2 examples of what it could look like. So, anyway, if it's working, let me see. The audio is not working great, so I have to.
Any feedback for Gil? Any help for Gil?
I'd like to tell Gil I feel the same way. I know a lot about how people around you feel, even when you share stories from when you're younger. It's all about how people are feeling, and if you could share anything right now, that would be about you. That would be I'm sorry, I'm stuttering. That would be about you right now to let us in would be great.
Bonnie, you don't need to say I'm sorry every time you have a comment to make. Are you aware that you do that?
Yeah. Yes. I just feel like I'm wrong.
You just feel like what?
I'm wrong. I don't know.
Can we flag that and come back to that in a moment? Because I think that you're onto something really important with Gil. So I'm going to ask you to push him. Can you do that?
I think so. So Gil, in your relationship with Rose, you talk a lot about how she's very controlling and she won't give you a child and she's cold to you. Is there any reason why you might think that she would act that way?
I just still am having a hard time feeling that what's going on in my life is all that important to Julia's.
So what is the dynamic of this? So like, you get in a group therapy, maybe 10 to 12 people. Is it one therapist?
Sometimes you have more. When I led at Lighthouse with kids, there was 2 of us. So it depends. But yeah, like the therapist's in charge of all this. That's why it's,
So then after that, like, do you ask one person about their story, or is this like a general question everyone responds to and you just like?
It could depend on the type of group. The example we have is Girl Circle, and maybe it is about relationships.
Therapy group?
Yes, yeah, that's the idea, is with like real life therapy groups. It can go any direction. Ideally, as the therapist, you're guiding it so it doesn't get out of control. Like, fuck you, no, fuck you, and like there's a fight or something. You know what I mean? Like, that's an extreme example, but you're guiding it so it's therapeutic too. Like that, it's talking about ways to better themselves. The biggest, most successful place this is most like used is in addiction recovery. So that's why a lot of you guys observe the AA meeting. That was one of them. Trauma therapy, sometimes you're showing that somebody else has been through the same thing, and that's therapeutic in and of itself, that like you're not the only one who's experienced this. Sometimes we are now getting them in grade school. So like you could have been exposed to this in grade school if you ever did something at grade school that was like divorce support groups or lost child support groups. Like there's several.
I thought it would be considered like therapy. I thought it was just like a group of people just coming together to like, I didn't know like therapy.
Like you mean AA would be that you're right, is just like voluntary and you pay $1. But they do those type of meetings at, for example, Claremont Recovery Center where I used to work, and people are having their insurance paid for it. So I mean, yeah, it depends on the setting that you're having it. Not everybody has access to insurance or like healthcare that they could get these groups. So sometimes a state board will fund them, sometimes it's trauma funding, but yeah, these there's 2 of them that are just a few minutes long, but showing like how the dynamics can be with what's going on. Maybe it's a 3-way conversation that you've done with your friends on the phone. So like there's different ways people bill for it. But yeah, if you do it professionally and through your private practice, then you bill their insurances and you have a group goal. That's one other thing I was going to pull up is I have the way that we write up paperwork for the groups. And that's in this golden thread PowerPoint. So I'll finish this in 1 minute and show you that next.
I
just
can
want to make
only
sure
imagine
this is-
what you're going through, and here I am.
The camera isn't
complaining about a nagging wife.
Let me see if it's showing.
I mean, in the end, so maybe I don't have a child. Maybe I'm not supposed to have. Maybe I'm not supposed to have a child.
What would it be like? We don't have Rose here.
Okay, it's working.
We only can imagine what Rose is like. So let me ask you this question, Rebecca, Bonnie, Pam. If you were married to Gil, based upon what you know of Gil through this group, what would it be like to be his wife? How would that feel?
It would feel like I was outside knocking on a door. And then I would have to knock louder and knock harder and do different things in order to get attention.
That's kind of
I was
hard.
going to say something similar, actually.
He's saying, if you were married to this dude, what would it feel like to you? She's like, I feel like I was outside knocking on a door and he's not hearing me, so I have to knock louder and louder. So I guess there's, so they could be harsh examples of like, which can be good as the therapist because then you're not in charge of it. You know what I mean? Like you are in charge of it, but you're not. Like other people can call them accountable and like hold them accountable. So that's interesting. Have you seen how we do these notes as of yet? Have I shown you this PowerPoint on how you'll write notes and you're in not just groups, but for any social work. So this goes for any social work services you'll ever do, especially if you bill Medicaid. I'll try to kind of cruise through it quickly, but the overview, let me see if I can make it bigger too, if it works. Yeah. So this is the assessment. So in social work, you always do assessment, diagnosis, what services you'll do. That could be groups, that could be therapy, case management, the treatment plan, and then the notes you write every session, then how to write the notes, and then these are like how to discharge them. But the whole point, let's try to get it clumped in. Are you from the state of Ohio? I ask this all the time. I know you're from Michigan, which it will be the same up there too. Like Medicaid is federal, like it changes slightly state by state. If you're billing, because I remember even Biden recently said they upped the payments for Medicare and Medicaid, and it's like
The payments, you have to pay for them, like the government pays?
the government pays, correct. Hello. So the government pays, you can get into group therapy with Medicare.
Oh, you mean the people when they charge Medicare kind of goes, okay.
You as the social worker will bill Medicare, Medicaid, and that's how we get paid. And if you run a group or if you do individual one-on-one counseling, that's usually the normal process. You have to do an assessment first, then a diagnosis, and it's right out of the DSM-5, which I think I've given to you guys. If not, I'm happy to email it again. It's a 1,000-page book on how to make a diagnosis. And we don't have to memorize it, which is nice. Like if you like are trying to make a diagnosis, you look through it and it says you meet 5 of these 9 categories.
Oh, Miss Dr. Martin had do something like that. But like the package, you have to like go through and like find like which each one like meant stuff like that.
Okay. What class is that one for? I always.
I think it was human behavior.
Okay.
Not part 2, but I think it was part 2.
Yeah.
You saw part 1, don't you?
Yeah, because I did share DSM-5 in part 1 because I had to give a presentation on a major mental health diagnosis. So, which if you want a free copy of it, I can send it. That looks good.
That's what I just said. If
Damn,
it's over
dude.
there, just regular.
I think it's Greek. They sell it in the cab.
They do?
Yeah, not the cab.
$250?
The market. No, it's $3.19.
Stuff's going up, isn't it?
I thought that was cheap.
I know, right? But it used to be $250.
Well,
It's like,
That store down there is kind of expensive. I Are you almost done with your thing?
For Dr. Wiley?
No, with her not eating meat.
I've been doing that, girl.
Oh, you read that? Oh. She wasn't eating meat. for
During
like
Lent?
a month.
It was 21 days.
21 days. she
Was
wasn't
it
eating.
too long? Was it Ramadan? Was it for Ramadan or Lent?
Me and my friends just did the thing.
Did you like it, love it, or want some more of it?
Well, what
It's
happened
hard.
was I started to get sick.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I had to get on medicine.
Yeah.
I had to eat, and if I didn't eat, I would got worse. So I didn't finish it. I think I didn't do 2 days, and I was like really sad.
Okay.
They're like, well, at least you got this far. And I
Yeah.
wasn't happy. But
You got
for the
19
most
days
part, it was
done?
okay.
Huh.
So it was okay.
Do you feel like you have more energy after not eating meat or like you more energized?
No.
Oh.
I feel like I was more tired. I felt like I was hungry. I felt like I was hangry.
Yeah.
But I was eating. But what was happening was the food that I was eating, due to it being all plant-based, my body wasn't digesting it. So I was catching like gas cramps
Oh,
out of
yeah.
nowhere. And when you get a gas cramp,
Are you eating a lot of soy? Is that why? Was it a lot of soy-based stuff? Yeah, because soy messes with me, and I have to eat like that Beyond Meat. Did that mess with you? That's not made out of soy. I eat the heck out of that. I haven't eaten meat since June 30th, 1999.
Wait, you're vegetarian?
Yeah.
Oh, like just like not just like no meat, and you would eat like what is it called, shellfish?
I don't eat fish.
Oh, so you don't eat no type of fish either?
I'm not a pescatarian. A lot of people do that, but I just became vegetarian in El Salvador in 1999.
Is your whole family vegetarian or just you?
I fuck it up for everybody.
Oh.
My wife cooks lots of stuff that has sides, and then she'll have meat as the main dish that they eat. My mom used to try to sneak meat into my food, and I would get pissed about it. So
Wow.
I'm not saying it's the right way, wrong way, or whatever. It's just when I lived down in El Salvador, and I've always eaten that way since, like simple beans and rice. And
Wow.
I don't know if it's the right way, the wrong way, or what.
So like, what about like milk? Is it like
I do milk and cheese. It's called an octalova vegetarian.
Okay.
Octa and lova mean eggs and milk. I forget which one means which, but I've been octalova vegetarian for a long time.
Okay.
I'll try dairy-free cheese, and I try to cut my dairy, especially when allergies are bad like this and you get all congested.
Oh yeah, the dairy thing.
It's been a long time, though.
Do you feel like a change after not eating meat for so long? Like, do you feel like a difference? Like, do you feel more energized, or do you feel like?
I've run 7 marathons since then, but I don't know if it has anything to do with it. I did a marathon in 2007. I walked one in 10, 11, 12, and 13. I ran one in 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and 19. So I don't know if it has anything to do with it. I have people give me shit, but it's working for me.
It does seem like it.
Like I'll be 46 this
You
year.
healthy, but I don't know why. This makes sense.
Like I'll be 46 this year, and this will be my 25th year of doing it. So that's half my life.
You ever want to give up in the beginning?
I think so. I started with red meat first, then white meat, and then fish, I think. So I kind of slowly went off.
Yeah, that's something I would do. I already eat pork, so.
Yeah, that's kind of how I did
that
it.
was what I missed the most. Pork chops.
Bacon.
Pork
Really?
chops.
I don't really do bacon. I can go without bacon, but like I will put it on a sandwich sometimes. But, like,
I
don't
made
do
fake and bacon this
for
morning. Fake bacon.
myself.
Oh, yeah. Here's what you guys will all learn how to do next year. Are you going to be doing your internship in the next year and a half?
Spring.
Damn. Same with you? You're done?
No, we got.
You're trying to quit on us?
No, we got to talk.
Well, let's finish this slide and talk.
Okay.
Because I'm running to, I know you have work too, but
Yeah.
you just need to register or something? Or you're like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, that's fine.
Oh yeah, I'm scheduled to do that I think next Monday.
No need to stress.
Something.
So yeah, you often do your intake, which is usually like what's your insurance, who's paying for this, that assessment. And if you find the person appropriate for groups, you add groups in there. What's that? ISP stands for individualized service plan. So like what treatment goals do you want to work on? I'll have to do that again today. I have 5 clients at 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. I got a brand new one born in 1956 coming at 6 p.m. I also have a dude born in 05, 2012, 08, and the last one is 1995. But
That's young.
I do have some young ones for sure. But I always do an assessment. I have an ISP and treatment plan. Every time I see them, I write a progress note. Why did it just sign me out of the internet? That's weird. So, and then, yeah, here's the diagnostic assessment form. So it gives you information about the overall assessment of functioning of the client. It can include information from, depending on the state you're in, those are the 2 things: child, adolescent, needs and strengths assessment. And you always want to focus on their strengths. Unmet needs are big, but most of our clients are coming because they feel at a deficit for some reason. So you want to highlight those strengths. No matter what, whatever it is, like what are you good at? Even if they can't pull it out themselves, like, well, I see you are doing well in school, and I hear that you've got good grades. Sounds like that's one of your strengths. And then in Ohio, we do the Ohio Consumer Scales. That's one way they measure before you see a therapist, and you measure after to see if it was helpful. Or also, what can you do to make it better? But you always have a diagnosis. It's developed from the DSM-5. Again, I can email you guys a free copy of that. It's the $80 book that's 1,300 pages, How to Diagnose Someone. Usually when you start reading through it, you want to diagnose yourself with something like, oh, I think I have that. You know, it's just normal. It's fine. And each section has info that can help the clinician plan your treatment and predict an outcome.
You just want to send a big email out to the class?
I mean, if you want a copy of it for real, I can send it out. Do you want a copy? Okay, that's fine. Let's see here. DSM-5. I think Nikita has the most updated copy.
And then I gotta go to Walgreens.
Oh, you working 2 of them today?
Too many?
2 jobs. Oh, I got me another job.
In school, where you at?
I gotta fix my availability again. I'm trying to do it in 2 hours. I'm tired.
You wanna work.
You want to work, but you don't want to work. You don't want to work because I feel like you're rushing. You got no time to sit or do your schoolwork.
Hey, that's what I feel like.
Clean your room. You don't have time
My
for
room
yourself.
look crazy.
Like, you don't.
You should see my car.
Got to. I want to vacuum. I went to the car wash and like scrub it. Like that's what I want to do. But yeah, like the hours are nice, just like not too many. I should be working 5 days. I really need to my money. I feel like I should have done like 3 or 4 days.
Oh, this is the updated version.
That's a lot. I'm tired. I still don't feel like studying. Still, what do I want to start? I don't know.
My room looks so crazy. I'm just like,
Never in here.
I
I
cannot.
grocery shopping. I don't got time grocery shopping.
I don't got no groceries.
Or to pick up some groceries or just make a grocery cart. I don't know. I haven't had time to think about that. I just paid my holiday fee finally, so I can put on the thingy, you know. So.
I wish it worked off my Mac because it would be so much easier. Yeah, how about this? If you send me an email, I will be able to reply to you with it. I'm having trouble getting it moving. But let's cut off there so I can help you and turn this off too. That way, we still have 12 minutes to work on you.
Well, what else y'all talk about inside?
I'm going over